Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Architect's Maze, and we're going to be looking at doing some sculpting, cart paths and fencing today. We're going to be looking at sort of getting some paths running around, show you how we sculpt them flat, show you little things we can do to add a little bit more detail to them, and showing you how I do fencing and stuff like that. And obviously we're going to be splining everything, so let's get our splining hats on and get going. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to add, I'll show you what I'm going to sort of have in mind. We're just going to run a path around the back here, sort of around here. Because that's such a massive drop off there, I might just run a path just around this little raised area here, down, and then we'll probably just take it, just for argument's sake, just run it along the edge of the course. Drop it around the back of the green here, sort of make a little cool little pattern and bring it up to here for our next tee box. So let's get going. The first thing you need to do is get to create surfaces and then scroll down to cart path. Now we've got a path width there of 3.8, so we're just going to drop that down to say, I think we'll keep that as a default, it's about 2.7, so we'll keep that there. Got our edge blending set at 100. Now that just obviously blends the edges of your path, so you can either have it very accurate or you can have it blended in nice and smooth. I prefer the blending these days, it just helps with the corners and the edges not looking so rough as they used to. We can obviously choose our texture. I'm going to go for, let's just try anything at the moment, see how we look. Let's try this one. Let's just have a look at the pattern or the actual texture that's going to give me when I get it on. That's quite a nice one. Yeah, I think that'll do for now. Right, so let's delete that. Right, so we're going to come back here. We're going to start just behind the tee box, so it runs up to the tee box, and we'll start splining. Create surfaces, cart path 1, cart path spline tool. That's our settings. We've got our texture. Let's go. So bring it back here, start there, try and get the first bit nice and square to your actual tee box. That one there, bringing it quite far forward so we can actually see it, so we can get some fencing along the edge there. And then we're going to start our turn and bring it round. We're going to go quite far wide this time away from the course so we can actually sculpt a lot easier. The tighter we get it to the course, the harder it is to sculpt, obviously. So we'll just bring it around the back here, up there, like I said, off to our next tee box. That'll do for now. Remember, the golden rule is to always hover over your cart path, get to edit, go to smooth and smooth spline. Okay, that's the start. It's all looking a bit rough at the moment. Any little bits you want to change, you can change. So we could make this a lot straighter, couldn't we? So if we just get hold of that point there and delete that point, and then delete this point, we can get it a bit straighter to the tee box. We drag this point, we hover over the one with the crosshairs, bring it back across a little bit, get that going like that. Okay, next thing I'm going to want to do is just make sure that's nice and smooth and flat around there. So around this tee box area we can actually flatten this part out nicely. So if we go to landscape sculpting, landscape flatten, get up there. I don't want to affect too much to the left of the actual hole, so the tee box, so we'll just go here for now. Flatten that all out nice and flat. That will help with the fencing to make it easier. And then we're going to start to flatten out our actual path as we go along. Now I like to use this tool again pretty much for everything I do. We're going to keep it on 0, 0, and we're just going to keep going along. So where that top part of that spline ends and the bottom part is, I'm going to take the top part to the next part. Get down, have a look. Now you'll see little bumps. As you move it, it'll flatten. So just go to there, do it again. See how it starts to dip there as I move forward. We want to get to the point where it's not dipping too much. A little bit of dip is good because we don't want to keep it all the same elevation. We're doing this, we're gradually bringing it down slowly. So get down low again. Make sure it's looking nice and straight. Now by using this tool, we're going to make a nice sort of edge of the actual path there where it all dips down onto the actual hole. So we can do something with that, as textures, or we can add some sort of terrain paint in that little area, but we'll do all that at another video. For now, we're just going to get this path in. Now this could take quite a while, but it's worth taking your time with it. Too many cart paths I see just look really rough and people haven't taken the time with them. It's something that sticks out like a sore thumb. You've got all this green grass around it and you've got a big dark or bright cart path running through it. Take the time just to edge it out and make it smooth. It's going to make your final product a lot more natural, a lot more real looking, and just overall better. So we've gone up to 4 there, so we can go back down to 0. Keep it nice and flat. Make sure we're looking okay. As I said, we're not trying to keep everything the same height, but we're just trying to make sure that we're blending out all these massive kinks. So as the actual terrain starts to climb again, we can obviously adjust down with what we want to do. We was on 0, wasn't we? So let's go back to 0. Now you can see there's already a little ridge start to appear there as we move. Show it a bit better. So if I drop it down to there, I'm going to minimise this because we're getting close to the course now, so I don't want to affect the course too much. And if you look at it from this angle as you go up, you can see what you're actually affecting. It's just a case of just take your time, just keep scrolling along, hitting 0. Okay, so we're quite a way through now already, and you can see we're already looking a lot smoother. Let's keep going. This may seem quite tedious, but as I said, it's something that you're going to start to appreciate when you get good at it, that it's going to make a big difference. So as you can see there, where we go up, you can see that course is rising up now. So if I go back to here, hit that one again, as it rises up I can just dip it down with it, so we can sort of keep it the same sort of height. I don't want to create, although we're following the terrain, I don't want to create a huge up and down sort of cart path. I want to keep it reasonably flat. It doesn't have to be perfect, but no one's going to have a path that's dead level in real life, so we can afford to have a little bit of play and leeway, and it's going to look more natural. So this section of the actual path's pretty flat already, isn't it? So we're just going to look at a few points and just see what needs doing. We're still 5 inches down at the moment, so let's jump to this point here. We're rising up again. Let's get down from this angle and have a look. I like it to there. We've got a little bump here, so if we come back, just drop it back down to 0. Oh, I've gone the wrong way. Go back to 0. Have a look at that again. Dip it down, so I think we're about level there now. 5 inches. We're just going to keep moving along. It's obviously going to get more trickier as we come up ahead because I can see a lot more undulation coming. So we're going to spin around in the other direction now. See, we're taking quite big chunks out of the land now. Okay, now we're going to drop down this way. We're going to find the point where it starts to come down again. So we'll hit that point there, dip that down. I'm just going to look from this angle now and do the same thing again. Just keep coming down so everything's gradual, nothing's drastic or great big steps in our sculpting. Spin it back round this way because we're starting to climb again now. Get down nice and low. Find that point where it rises. Flatten it out. I want to bring it up slightly each time. Slightly smaller ones pay a bit more attention to this area now because it's getting quite undulating. Just keep coming through. Now by doing this, we're already setting up sort of interesting little terrain changes around these edges here of the path on the right, where we can add bushes and trees and sort of interesting things that are going to make it look more natural as we run it along. Let's check the heights again. That one I would have liked a bit lower. Let's go back, do that again. So as you can see, every time we go forward, it's trying to rise up a little bit. That's the natural terrain pushing you up. We're obviously -3, so we are bringing it down a little bit every time, which is fine. We're going to keep going. We're getting to the back of the green now, or to the side at least. We'll take big chunks out as we go, that's fine. As I say, because we're using a nice smooth fuzzy brush, nothing's going to be really drastic, it's all going to blend in as it goes. So all we've got to be mindful of now is that we're not leaving great big steps, so don't go too far ahead of yourself. Spin that round a little bit so we're getting back in line. That was a big rise there, more, so go smaller. I don't want it perfectly flat. If I wanted it to be perfectly flat, I would just sculpt a great big area flat. But then we're going to lose a bit of character. That's what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to achieve natural sculpting around the actual cart path itself. So by doing this, we've got a nice raised area to the right that still looks smooth and blends in, and behind the green here we're going to have a nice little ridge to work with, so add some planting and bushes and things. I'm going to spin it this way because I don't want to encroach onto the actual back of the fairway there. Keep bringing it around. Now the reason why I wanted to leave this or bend the path like this is because I wanted this little raised section in the middle as we come around the back. We can do some later sculpting to that to sort of make it, because we're carving out quite a big channel here, so we can just smooth out some of that in a minute. Once we're back round here, we're pretty much back to there. Okay, so we've left that area there. You can see it's not perfectly flat, but we don't want it to be dead flat. We want to add character and realism and sort of an effect that's not just man-made. We have followed a natural sort of path round and tried to keep it as genuine as possible. So the next thing we can do to our path is add a little bit of sort of bit more texture to it and a bit more detail. So if we go to create surfaces again, we'll see what it looks like. We're going to go to surface weathering this time, and we're going to go to spline tool again. Now we can keep it at 2.7, it doesn't matter, we can adjust that afterwards. So let's start to put this in over the top. It doesn't have to be massively as accurate as it was before, it's surface weathering at the end of the day, but it's just going to give us a little bit of something else rather than the green and the sort of dark grey of the path itself. We'll just keep following it all the way. Obviously if I took that edge blending down at the start of doing that original cart path, it would be a lot more, you wouldn't get all these sort of areas where it's blending in more and stuff like that, but I like that. If that's not the look you're going for, then I recommend obviously keeping your edge blending a lot lower, okay? For more sort of ruggedy natural look, I'm going for this sort of thing. So now we've added that in. Now obviously that is very bright, isn't it? So all we need to do is find the surface weather and spline point, go to edit, and then we can start to drop it down. We'll go to 75 first, see what that looks like. Still a bit bright, let's try 55. I just want it so it's just adding a little something. I'm going to go a little bit lighter than that. 45, let's try that. Starting to just look a bit more natural and faded in now around the actual path itself. These are all things you can choose to do on your own course or not to do, it's purely up to you. I'm just trying to create something that's looking a little bit more natural as we go. That's fine for now. Let's have a look at it from the tee box and see what we can see. That's looking okay. Go back to here. Play course. Let's have a look at the edge. Okay, we can see our path running off down the back there. We've got one on the all the way down the right, so we can have a good look at that there. That's fine. Now, for argument's sake, I'm going to put a little fence in. I'm not sure if I'm going to run it all the way, because I think that would be a bit extreme and not too natural. Depends what you really want to sort of cover. At least want something along the back here. I'm just going to delete that point. Make that a bit straighter. Oh, that was on the wrong one. Cart path. Let's bring that up there a bit. And then we're going to go to objects, walls and fences. Now, I always do my splining walls with this one first, okay? It's a low stone wall. I'll show you why I do that. Spline tool, and let's start from, say, just to the right of that path. Let's go here. Okay. Again, not too many points. You don't want to be putting loads in, but you do want a few on corners and things like that. Sharp turns. I'm going to terminate it somewhere, sort of. Where should we look to end in it? Yeah, somewhere around here. We should be able to see it off the tee. Okay. You can see it's quite pointy on these edges at the moment. If I go to hover above the stone wall, click on it, go edit, zoom back a bit, go smooth spline. On the wrong one. Stone wall there, edit, smooth spline. That's not doing it, is it? This is a fine tutorial. Edit, smooth spline. Stone wall smooth point. Well, that hasn't quite done what I was hoping it would do. Normally when I use this, it would smooth out all those edges. Let's work out what's happening. So we'll delete that wall. So if we go to walls, maybe I didn't put enough points in or not enough or too many. I don't think there was too many. Let's find the wall again and just check out what that was. Stone wall. Let's create a shape like that. Let's go to here. Edit, smooth. There you go, it's kicked in that time. Now we've got a nice smooth effect going along there. Okay. For some reason on that previous one it wasn't kicking in. Let's go back. That's the previous shape. Let's find the wall again. This time we're going to go to edit wall and we're going to take out the waypoints. Not the waypoints, we're going to take out the pillars in the wall itself. So I'm going to put it at ends only. That's no posts. ends only. Okay, so it's just obviously going to be end to end, you're going to get that. Then we're going to come back to the point again, we're going to go edit and we're going to go smooth, and that'll smooth out that edge like that. Don't know why that didn't do it on the previous one. Let's try it again. It's doing what I wanted it to do. Ooh. Stone wall, delete. Okay, let's start again. Walls and fences, stone wall. Ooh. Let's try putting a few more points in this time. You don't want to get your points too close, but because it makes funny kinks in it when you do go to smooth. So the fewer the better, I've always found, but let's have a look and see why that wasn't doing that. Let's go back to stone wall point, edit, smooth, smooth spline. It just doesn't like it when we put it here, does it? It's good that we're coming across this problem live, because we can try and find out what's causing it and rectify it. Stone split handle, edit, smooth, smooth spline. It's not going to do it again. So what if we move it away from the cart path? And then do the same thing again. Now it's smoothing it. See how, because we put too many points here, we've got this funny kinking situation going on. So just hover over one of the points, click on that, go delete point, and it brings it back for you. If you've got too many points in, you're going to get funny shapes, so I'm going to delete that one as well. Okay. Right, let's try and move the whole spline back again. I don't know why that was doing that. Doesn't make sense to me. Let's put it back there. We've got a much smoother situation going on here. Okay, so let's go back to the edit part again and take out those pillars or posts. Edit wall. Scroll along to ends only. Okay, so we've got that there, that there, that there. Now you can see we've got a dip here. Looks quite funky. We're going to have a few dips everywhere. Now what you can do, and what I would normally do, well, let's change the actual wall first, get something a bit higher so I can show you. So let's slow down. Right, we're going to click on the point, we're going to go to edit wall, we're going to go to swap style, then we're going to find, let's say, a wooden panelled fence. So one of these, click on that, it's going to change it to that for you. Okay, now because if you certain walls you can't smooth, okay, so that's why I always go to that stone wall first, because I know that one smooths. So if I draw any spline in that stone wall, I can smooth it, and then I can swap the style to another sort of fence that won't spline smooth. Okay, and I can get nice smooth edges on that fence. I do that for retaining walls, I do that for everything. I always use that stone wall first to do the splining. That's a big tip I can give you. And then you just swap the style to whatever your intention was in the first place. Okay, so what we can do with this fence now is, where we've got that sort of lowered area there, we've got two options. We can either try and smooth that out a bit flatter, okay, or if you don't want to mess about with sculpting all your land, go to the fence again, click on it, go edit wall, see where it says height mode contoured. If we put it at leveled, that will make that whole fence level now. Now what you're going to find is, as you come round where that's raised up, now you can see how out you was with your sculpting. Okay, we wanted to make all that smooth, didn't we? And flat. Now that's how much dip there is, how much the tee box is raised compared to this lower section. So if I literally wanted to make that whole section meet, I could go to landscape tools, landscape flat, I wouldn't bother doing something like this because to me it's a big bit of sculpting and it's quite hard, especially for beginners. But let's do it anyway, just to show you the different ways you can do it. Now, obviously I've got the shape I sort of want to sculpt flat. Come to this point here, I can see where it's meeting. I want it on that bend, as in where the fence is meeting on the right there. It's touching the path there, that's on the corner. And if I start to just raise that up, keep raising it until we get to the bottom of the fence. Once I find it, I can come back down. That's the fence there. Let's put that there for argument's sake. Go like that. Now that's looking a lot flatter. Obviously we've got it on leveled as well, so you can see that there's a little bit there that's not quite meeting. Okay. Now you've got two ways. You can mess around with sculpting and trying to flatten it, or you can just simply lower your actual fence height. So click on that again, go move spline, and start to drop it down. It doesn't sort of show you how far you're dropping it, so you have to do it by eye. But if we just keep taking it down, there should be a tiny bit there. So now you've got this tiny little bit of fence showing, so we're just going to come up again. You can do this with any wall, any spline, you can set it at any height you want. If you only want a little tiny little bit showing like that of the actual fence as a little border, that's a nice way of doing it. Or you can have the full height of the fence obviously if you want, or a medium size. And those fence panels are quite tall, aren't they? So we'll just bring it up another couple of foot. We've got a height of that sort of thing going on. Let's have a look at our tee box, see what it looks like. Now personally, I wouldn't have bothered to have raised that original bit up to try and meet that fence as I levelled it. I would have left that. It wasn't that unsightly. But if ever you want to get smooth fence edges, go to level. Either dip it down if it's only a tiny bit out, as in lower your fence height a little bit to meet the ground. So if I keep pushing square, I want to try and get to the point where we take that big rise that we did out. There. Okay. So if we go back to the wooden panel again, go edit wall and go contoured, it's going to hug the ground again now. So the only real massive bit I can see that is a dip is about here, isn't it? So in that scenario I can either lower this point or raise this point. Let's just try and lower this point. So we're going to go to the raise tool this time, not the flatten tool. Make it slightly bigger and just drop it down, say 9 inches at first, and concentrate on that area that's slightly out. There you go, that's a lot smoother looking now. There's an area here possibly that I can raise up a tiny bit. So we'll go up this time, say, looking at that, maybe 6 inches about here. And that's there. Let's go back to our play course and see what that view looks like. Now, I probably wouldn't have a fence along here, to be honest. I would leave it all open, but this is just an example to show you how to do fencing. Okay, let's take that out. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to lower it, I think, and just leave it as a little border for now, rather than an actual fence. So I'll show you what we did before. Move spline, drop it down. Move spline, drop it down. Oh, click on the wrong button. Move spline, yep. We'll leave it about that height for now, just for the fun of it. So obviously we could have continued that all the way along if we really wanted to, if that was our sort of idea, but I would rather leave it and have sort of vegetation along this area. And to be honest, if it was me, I probably would terminate the fence probably just along this bit here. It's not doing much other than that. So you pick a spot you want to end your fence, for example, say you don't want to do all that, find a point, click on it, go edit and go split spline. It's going to make a hole in the middle of your spline. Now we don't want all this stuff to the right, so we're just going to click on it again, delete spline. So we've only got this bit now. Now around here we can obviously have a little building, a little area for some benches or something along the first hole, or a little viewing area, or anything you want basically, but it just adds a nice little border to your tee box area. And we could do the same again this side and have it going in, so well, let's do that now. Let's put another one on the other side here. So we're going to go to walls and fences, we're going to go to stone wall spline. Okay, now this is going to be quite a straight one, so we could have just probably gone straight to a wooden panel because we're not really going to be doing any sort of smoothed out corners on this one. Try and find the same distance you was on the other side, so I would say about there. Bring it up, bring it forward, and you can sort of terminate it level with that one and square to the actual tee box itself. So a little bit more right, maybe about there. Hit that. Now we don't need the smooth spline, so we're just going to go straight to edit wall, swap style, put it on wooden panels. Click on there. Now also see how our panels are different there. On this side I've got the actual cross sections here and it's smooth on this side. On this side I've got the cross sections on the inside, not the outside. So if you go to here, click on that again, go edit wall and go flip wall. It's going to turn it around so now that matches. Okay. Now I can see that maybe that fence panel dips down a bit because that's not perfectly smooth ground. So if we go, oh, we flipped it back again, haven't we? Silly. Edit wall, flip wall. Right. So if we go to leveled again now, okay, that's going to make the top of our fence perfectly straight. Because we're dipping it down, it doesn't matter about the bottom. So move spline. Now I just got to roughly guess until it gets to the same height as the previous one. Just needs a smidge down more. Ooh, too much. This is where it gets annoying. I probably should have looked at the numbers I was using there. But just keep bringing it up until it matches. Too high. It's good that you can see this because this is how fiddly it can be sometimes. It's just the tiniest little smidge again, isn't it? Too much. About there. One more. That'll do for now. Okay, so now we've got perfectly smooth, perfectly flat edges where we've used the levelled. Even though the ground isn't perfectly level, the fences are. It's one big bugbear of mine is when I see blind fences running around the back of a green or around the back of a tee box and they're all dipped and bent and curved and they look a mess. That's one way of getting around it. So you've got a perfectly smooth flat tee box area with our path running round off into the distance and back. Okay, let's have a look at the view from the actual tee box. There you go, we've got a border on each side now if that's the sort of thing you want to do. Normally when we're framing a hole we're going to be planting stuff left and right of those fences anyway, so we can keep them in just as a little border to our opening hole. Add something, but it's important that we show you how to use them. So again, that can apply any style of fence. Just go there, mess about with them, see if there's others you like. We can use the canvas fencing. It's going to raise it up, but that's irrelevant. You can do the same thing, dipping it back down, dropping it back with the square, and you can change it to any style you want. Okay. So what else can we cover here? So we've got our cart path in, we've got our fencing in. As I said, that's going to apply to pretty much any situation you want. If you're going to smooth with a stone wall first and then swap your style to the other style of fence that you eventually want to use. See if we can affect this tiny bit of sculpting here where that steps up. I would like this area to be a little bit more matched. So let's go landscape. We're going to go to raise, we're going to go to a fuzzy brush. We're just going to pick that little bit there. We're only focusing on the middle section, so if we raise that up, see how we're get down as low as you can, and get down even lower if I go back. See how we're just micro sculpting these little points now. Bring it forward a bit. And you can really affect these edges as you blend them in. So if we go really big now and then drop that whole section, now it's looking a lot more smoother on that incline up that hill. Okay, so we can get a nice smooth rise. Again, I would like to affect this top point and bring that down a smidgen. So we're just going to go like that, bring that down, get down as low as you can so you can see what you're doing. Again, we've only moved it an inch there, but that's looking a lot smoother as we come around. And you're just looking for anything really that doesn't look quite right, or a little bit too bumpy, or this area here doesn't look quite right to me. There's a bit of a dip and a rise there. So in this scenario, probably I would go to the flattened one and try that first and see what that does. It's going to create a little bit more of a dip behind, but if we just bring it down a couple of inches and try it, let's have a look and see what that's done. It's a little bit smoother, but there's still a bump about here. So if we go raise, not flatten this time, just raise. Find that little area, drop it down 2 inches and hit that. That's looking a lot smoother. This is all just little bits of micro sculpting that you can do again here. Spend the time doing this because it's gonna, well, for me it's important. For other people it probably, even for your player, it's going to mean absolutely nothing really. But if I'm going to take the time to even think of bothering to put paths in, I want them to look good. I want them to look smooth, and I don't want to see big bumps or lumps in them. It's just a totally pointless task if you're going to spend the time to do it and then not take the time to make it look good. Spin it this way so we get a bit more affected. There's a tiny little bump there I don't like. Let's try that. And then let's have a look at that now. And it's just this little point here on the right. Let's take that down a bit. So we're looking pretty good. I like the way it dips here and rises back up again on that point. Again, I can see sort of in the middle here is slightly higher than this point here. So I'm just going to dip that down a tiny bit. Find that point there, get as low as I can. Spin it that way. 2 inches. You never want to go more than a couple of inches at a time when you're doing this sort of sculpting. And then there's just a tiny little dip there that I'm going to raise. I'm pretty happy with that. So I can't really see the path on this point here from there. From looking here, I mean, I can't see the path from the green, but I know that there is a path because of this bit rises up there. This bit seems a little bit too high. I want to sculpt this little bit of land out a bit smoother. So the first thing we can try and do is try and flatten it. So we go to this shape here, come to there, now we can get a nice little cut in, but all that's done is raised up our fairway bit here makes it look silly. I mean, in that scenario, if I click on it and then come down and smooth this area out again, let's have a look and see what that does. So get down the layer. It's just the more you use the flatten tool, the more you're really going to affect other stuff. So again, all we've done is really not that much in my opinion. It's still got that raised area here. So if we go square, square, that's everything back as it was. I'll go to the raise tool and try and do the same thing again. I only really want to affect one part of this, not all of it. I want to keep that fairway rising up a little bit because it's kind of a backstop. So by doing that, that whole area looks like it blends in a bit better now. I haven't really affected too much else. I want to come in here and I want to dip this down a bit so it follows the path. I want to keep the back of the bunker shape slightly curved, but I want to dip this area here a bit more now. Let's come here. Let's have a look at that. That's all running nice and smoothly now down through there. And that's where you're not using the flatten tool. It's a lot easier to use the flatten tool, but you're not going to get the same sort of results. So if again, if I come here, say I wanted to flatten this area around this, I'm not going to use that shape, that's not the right one. If I wanted to flatten an area around the edge of this path to make it a lot more smoother like that, I could use this one, okay, make it big so it's the same sort of contour as the path, right from above. Good hit. Let's have a look now. Everything's reasonably flat round the back, but we've created a big dip here. That doesn't look natural at all. You could cover that over with bushes or something, but what's the point? We'll hit square. Okay, there's only really a couple of points that are bumpy. There's one here and there's one here, or we've got this bit that dips in. So really this is the point we want to look to raise. So if we come here, let's use our usual shape. It's easier to do it. Get it down to the size of the bit you want to affect. I can see it's on that light patch. Start bringing it up. Okay, so there. 10 inches that went up. Okay, that's looking nice and smooth around there. Any odd areas you can see that you think, oh, that needs a little bit of work. It's all looking pretty reasonable for now. I mean, this is, I wouldn't say it's advanced stuff, but when you're a beginner designer, you've got to be able to think of all these things if you want to create better courses. It's just micro sculpting basically. You're just looking for little tiny areas that you can just smooth and flatten, and you're going to get a much better finish. Much better finish. For now, I think that's quite nice round the back of the green complex there. Finishes that off. That's working quite well. I'm going to do a tiny little bit more sculpting and then we'll call it a day for this one. We can cover at some point maybe retaining walls around water, because I do that with splining them as well. I've always splined my retaining walls. I've never placed them. It creates for a lot more interesting opportunities if you can learn to spline them. And it's the same sort of process with the retaining wall. I use the stone wall first, then I smooth it, and then I change it to the retaining wall afterwards, and then I put it on leveled, and I obviously dip the height down a bit to get it under the water. And that's why I wanted to show you something simple on land for now, because it gets a little bit more complicated on water, but you get a much better result at the end of the day. So the only bit I think I'm going to lower a bit more now is this area here. So everything you do with raise is going to keep the contours that you've already done, but we're just going to start dipping the whole area down rather than making really sharp edges of dips. There, and then it's just this, we've got a big bump here, haven't we? So again, I could either go to flatten, and that's going to focus on the bit I want to flatten and dip it down. it's also going to create problems elsewhere because this ground below here is slightly lower. So if I hit flatten that, it's made more bumps and lumps than I really wanted it to. So hit square. I only want to affect this little raised area here. So go back to raise this time, not flatten. Hit that, make it about the size you want to affect. Start to dip that down. 11 inches we've gone there. Still got a little bit, but it's more of a natural progression. We can do it again, just one more little bit. I think it's a couple more inches. Let's try to in that particular area there. And then just play about with it. Try to use raise as much as you can and not flatten. Too many designers will think, oh, I want to flatten that area out, and automatically think, oh, I'm going to go to flatten. But as I said, it's just going to create you more problems in other places. If you could learn to use a nice fuzzy brush and get in there with a raise and just look for little points that you want to practice on. I think there was a point back here somewhere. Tiny little bit there. You could just learn to just hit on that. Just get a bit more of a smoother edge as you're coming up that hill. Click on that. And it's just keep working it. I can sculpt for absolutely ages looking for certain little areas of things to find that are out of place, and I would tend to do that in what I call a polish, which is towards the end of the design when I'm laying stuff out at the moment and trying to be creative. I don't want to get too bogged down with trying to sculpt everything dead flatly perfect. I want to get it playing, and I want to get it sort of so I can see how the strategy of the hole is going to play, and then once I'm happy I'm keeping that hole how it is, then I can start to go back, check all the edges, check all the sculpting, make sure everything's flat like we're doing now. So that would, as I say, I would do that towards the end of a hole more, but we'll do it for now. And now we're going to hit save, because we haven't saved it yet. I think we'll keep all this stuff for today. Keep that there, keep that there. Go back to play course and just have a quick play of the hole. See what it looks like. We'll keep it on there, we'll put tiger on. Play course. So you see on the right there, I can see my cart path as it bends around there. Where the edge of the fence is to that point, I can't really see any of my cart path. So if it was me, I would raise that little area down so I can see a little bit more of that cart path, just so it doesn't look so alien. Now, I can see that running through there. See that there. Everything looks fine. Let's do that now so I can show you what I mean. See if we can get it first time. Doesn't always work first time. But it was about here, wasn't it? This little bit here. So we're going to go to the raise tool again, go to the same shape. Remember, it's only the middle bit that's being affected. I can sort of see the bit I can't see, which is slightly raised. So we'll dip that down. Let's come down to about here. Check our path here. It's not too bad. Obviously, I can raise this bit of land lower as well, so if we find this shape, instead of hitting the flatten button, we're going to go to this shape, get our contour, just dip that bit down, it's a bit closer to the path, but not too close so it's dipping it itself. Let's see what that does from the actual tee box. Can we see any more of it now? We should get an outline of it that it's there. It's just one little bit here. Let's try this shape. See, if I go too close, I'm affecting the path. I just edge it away ever so slightly. And there's a funny big dip here that I'm going to raise. Take that out a little bit. Let's try that. Hopefully, yeah, we can make the outline of that path out now so it makes more sense to the eye. Okay. So for today, I think we've pretty much covered all the things we wanted to do. Got our path in, we've made it look nice and rugged and natural, and winded its way around the back, we've smoothed it out nicely. We haven't followed it dead flat, so it's following the contours, but we haven't really got any funny lumps or bumps. We've just microscoped those out of the situation. We made it interesting around the back of the green for later on when we're going to be doing some planting. Let's just get to up there. I want to make something in this area here with some interesting bushes or plants or maybe even trees. And this area I'm probably going to do some terrain painting and cut in some sort of either bedrock or just some worn out ground as it comes along here. But this bit I wanted to leave it so I can have some bushes and stuff along the top there. And have some bushes here, and then basically you can see the path disappearing through there, so you can see that that's where the next hole is going to go. We'll either run up a little bit of path, probably, maybe even just along here to join onto that. If you're coming off the green, we can do that just with surface weathering or something with some planting around it. I've got a sort of bit of more of an idea of what I want to do in my head, but that's fine for now. So hopefully the fencing bit made sense to you all, and it's made how you can smooth and edit posts and raise heights and make them level, which is the most important thing. If you're going to put fencing in, obviously not all fencing is going to be dead flat level, but in areas that is really noticeable to the eye around tee boxes and stuff, you want them flat. So by just doing that leveled or contoured, putting it onto leveled and then dipping the fence down lower, you know that the bottom's not going to be shown up, but the top is going to be perfectly straight. That whole tee box complex now is perfectly straight. Okay, that's a good little tip, and hopefully it will get you to making better fences and better paths. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you on the next one. Probably we will be doing some terrain painting on the next one, just to try and get some character to the hole, especially around these areas. Okay, so thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.